September 20th, radio interview with Ryder Bullock on Opposing Viewpoints, an internet radio talk show. He's going to be calling in about 5 minutes, and this is me just getting started. So I'm going to be doing some stuff here on my computer, waiting for him to call. Hopefully, well, we're going to be talking for about 2 hours, and I'm going to cover artificial intelligence, crimes in America, my political viewpoint, what else? Why you should vote for Lambright. Just getting the lighting set up here. Kind of orange. Well, you just got some behind the scenes there. Well, it is what it is. Oh, that's too much. Oh, that's all I needed to do was basically throw some light at the camera, then it would do a color correction. I'm a little overweight. I put on 40 pounds since the last year. It happens, doesn't it? I'm not sure how much time I'll have on the what do you call it, for chat. It's his radio show, so copy link address, so maybe he'll have callers in, I don't know. Minutes away. Got a nice thing of chips and salsa here. All right, I'm posting to 4chan. Got a nice thing of chips and salsa here. Better feed my face before he calls. Better take some notes here. Oh. Let him know I'm ready. Oh, if this guy is pranking me, I'm going to be pissed. I've been pranked before. Mr. Meekor or something pranked me last summer. I've just brewed some coffee with my French press here, getting that ready. That changes the color. It was looking kind of orange there. Alright, pour my coffee. This guy is already 2 minutes late. I'm probably being pranked. Oh well. This is seriously disappointing if this guy doesn't call me. He's 3 minutes late now. Pop out chat. Not sure how much chatting I can do with people, but I'm going to give that a try. I don't know why the live stream is not at peak. What the hell? 4 minutes late now. Hello, this is Wayne.
Ryder Bullock, how are you?
Hey, Bullock.
Yes.
I'm sorry, what's
how
your...
are you?
Good. What's your first name? I forgot.
Ryder.
Ryder Bullock and I are doing a live broadcast. I'm doing a YouTube live broadcast right now.
Are we really?
Yeah,
Good.
so, you're recording the show on your end and I'm recording the show on my end.
Yes. I am getting ready to hit the record button. There was a long commercial break that just happened here, so I'm waiting them to send it back to me. I'm going to tell you though the format of our debate or the format of our town hall. Is that okay?
Oh, okay. I didn't know it was a town hall.
Yes, it is.
So there's people there asking me questions?
Well, what I did, there are people here in my there's about a group of, I'd say, probably 5 to 6 people.
Okay.
I had them each, plus on Twitter, I had them each write down a question on an index card. I'm going to read them to you based on, you are going to be asked questions based that I wrote, based on the questions we found on our social media page, plus questions that were submitted by the audience, okay?
Okay.
You will have a minute and 30 seconds to answer each question, okay? We're going to keep this rolling.
Okay. I thought we were going to do a conversation style about my campaign and some of the things I was working on.
Well, we're going to get to that too, okay?
Okay.
So, let me find my button here. Okay. This is... I'm not sure. 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
You're more prepared than I am. I apologize.
It's all right.
Okay. Okay. One second here. Okay. We are live here in 5, 4. Oh, no, we're not going to be live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're going to be live here in 30 seconds.
All right. Speak as loud as possible from my end.
Okay, I will try.
So I'm waiting for Ryder, the host, to get his operation together, and he's going to be asking me some questions that his audience have submitted to him, and I've got 1.5 minutes to answer each question, and it's in a town hall style interview, and after the questions then we're going to talk about my campaign. Sounds good to me. I have no idea what they're going to ask.
Okay, we're going to get started here. My theme song is going to play. I'm going to talk, and then we'll get started here, okay?
Okay. His audio quality is low on my end, so I'm just going to bring the phone out a little bit. Oops. Don't want to unplug it.
Okay.
How many questions do you have totaled up?
I have quite a few here.
Great.
And thank you, Margaret. We are live from Democracy headquarters here in Indianapolis, Indiana. I am Ryder Bullock. This is a special live edition of Decision 2016, the New Liberty Party, Wayne Lambert, and RBC Town Hall meeting. I am Ryder Bullock live from Democracy headquarters in Indianapolis. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Wayne Lambert.
Thank you, Ryder. Great to be here.
Yes. Okay. So I've explained the format to the audience. I've explained the format to you. And we're going to start off with, give me in the time allotted what you and what your campaign stands for.
So the question is, what do I and what does my campaign stand for?
Yeah.
I've got a minute and a half?
Yeah.
All right. What I want to bring back to America is following the rules. The Constitution is a great roadmap and guideline to making our country great. And since we're not following the rules and we're not following this map, America is lost. We don't need to. The Constitution. If it was a machine, they're beautiful gears, and if they're installed correctly, everything will work fine. But since there's so much crime and corruption, America can't function properly in a way that motivates people to invest into technology and into the future. I really feel America's been hijacked, and there's just a lot of plunder going on. This is the reason our economy is in the tank, and this is why we can't recover, and this is why nothing seems to work. The criminals are running our nation, and it's time to take it back. That's my answer.
Okay, thank you. Here we go. Question number one. This was submitted by the RBC News distribution. Okay.
Okay.
According to a study done by RBC News, if legalized, the U.S. would save $7.7 billion on prohibition costs, gain $6.2 billion on marijuana tax revenues, and gain $7.6 billion on natural med spots, for a total of $20.9 billion in revenue each year. Should cannabis be legalized in all 50 states?
If I heard the question correctly, it's really about the legalization of cannabis in all 50 states. And my answer is absolutely yes. Okay. Cannabis is an amazing drug, and it has lots of healing properties. For some people who have never used cannabis, there's actually receptors in our brain that only work by using cannabis. They have synthesized about 90 different alkaloids that have been proven to cure cancers. I know of some Israeli companies that are trying to actually turn those into pharmaceutical products, which I'm actually maybe for. I'm not necessarily sure I'm for that, because the product itself, the cannabis, you could just eat it and get the same benefit. Either way, the war on drugs is a complete failure. Cannabis has never been proven to cause anybody cancer ever, where tobacco does cause cancer. Look at all the problems with alcohol, how many people that kills, how much liver cancer it does. I used to say if you could plant a seed and it grew a 6-pack of beer, that seed would be illegal, because I believe it's the alcohol industry that makes marijuana and cannabis illegal. I have smoked a fair amount of cannabis in the past, and it's nice. I haven't smoked since last November, but it is a really nice, relaxing thing if that's something that you need. That's my answer.
Okay. I'm going to stick here back to RBC News. These are questions being submitted by the RBC News distribution. Last year, 10,728 people were killed in America by handguns. Should there be more gun control in America, and will it prevent another mass shooting like what we've seen in Orlando?
All right, so the question is, should there be more handgun control? 10,700 died last year. No. We need more. I think we need more guns. As president, I put on my website that I would give for all citizens who wanted. We'd create a citizen army like Switzerland, and I would actually give people machine guns. An armed society is a polite society. The Orlando shooting, those 50 gay people did not die until the police went in. I want to see ballistics on which guns killed which people. There's a lot of cover-up on the Orlando shooting. Sandy Hook is a hoax. You just have to Google it. And the FBI reports no deaths in the Sandy Hook County area for when that happened. There's even evidence of different people in government pretending to be FBI. And the principal is working down the street. The alleged principal who was killed at Sandy Hook is working down the street. Guns don't kill people. People kill people. And it is our right to have guns to protect us against a tyrannical government. And we are living in soft tyranny right now. That's my answer.
Okay. Another question by the RBC News distribution, and then we'll go to our studio audience there. The age of consent just got lowered in South Carolina to 14. If elected, would you make a national age of consent?
I wouldn't. I think 18 is probably the proper age. I do believe that in some states it's 16 with parental consent.
Yeah.
That doesn't make... I would let the states control that law based on the people's, feelings and opinions in those states. When I was 16, I don't think I was ready for any type of marriage. Therefore, I don't think I could make the right decision. I think the age of 18 for being, having a marriage and being adult is probably a perfect age. So no, I wouldn't change the law to make it lower.
Okay. This question is from Annie Henson. She lives in Boulder, Colorado. Will you raise taxes to lower the deficit?
Thanks for the question, Annie. Would I raise taxes to lower the deficit? First of all, I would remove all taxes on a federal level if you made under $1 million a year. So you're not going to have to pay taxes. The federal deficit is some accounting fakery. The Federal Reserve is as federal as Federal Express. The money we use comes from a private bank. The Federal Reserve is not even part of the government. It's owned by the other banks. And the other banks print this money on paper, then charge us 3% on that money through inflation every year for the right to have them manage our money for us. They're really like the mafia. I would actually abolish the Federal Reserve, which would take the money from giving all these trillions of dollars to the bankers. That wealth would be distributed to the American citizens through lower taxes.
Okay.
Of course, bankers don't like this idea.
No. This next question is from Carol Allen. She lives in Detroit, Michigan. Do you support the Iran deal? And if not, how do we fix it?
I do support the Iran deal. I've had friends who are Iranian, and they're a nice, loving people. Iran has not gotten the fair handshake. Iran is sitting on huge amounts of oil, and this is really about controlling their oil, and it's probably about the West trying to steal their oil. Iran doesn't necessarily want nuclear weapons, other than Iran wants a way to protect themselves from the West and Israel. Israel is not necessarily a kind and loving nation. They're mean to all their neighbors. And it's my personal opinion that Israel started the war with Syria by invading them with ISIS, Israeli Secret Intelligence Service, which is a proxy army invented by the United States, Great Britain, Israel, and Saudi Arabia to destabilize Syria for something called the Greater Israel, which is basically Israel taking the Syrian land. I support the Iran deal, which is giving them some nuclear material so they can have nuclear power stations. I don't think they need to have I don't think they want nuclear weapons or seek it. I think what they want is protection from Israel, which has roughly 200 nuclear weapons called W-48s, which are the size of a football. And also, it's against American law to give Israel money based on the non-nuclear, non-proliferation treaty. And since they have nuclear weapons, we should not be giving them any money, including the $38 billion we just earmarked for the next 10 years.
Okay. This is an RBC News question. 2% of American men are homosexual. Is homosexuality immoral?
So the question is, 2% of American men are homosexual, and is homosexuality immoral? No, homosexuality is not immoral. I thought the number was higher. I thought it was like 8% of the population was homosexual. They are honestly just born that way. A homosexual man asked me, Wayne, at what age did you realize you were straight? I said, well, I always knew I was straight. See how that works?
Yeah.
You know, those guys were always just gay. That's just the way it is.
Yeah. You might be right on the 8%. I just said 2% of the men. As you add the women, it probably is 8% of the population.
That's a number I got. I was at something called the Think Equity Conference, which was a conference for venture capitalists. And the people who run gay.com, they make about $55 million a year with their gay dating website, but they said that 8% of the world's population is gay.
Okay.
And I think they'd be a pretty good resource on that.
Yeah. Okay. There are 1.4 million transgenders. Should there be a third bathroom?
Oh, 1.4 million transgenders. Should there be another bathroom? No.
No.
Maybe unisex bathrooms is the solution. But I think I like the unisex bathroom more. But what are we going to do about these old buildings who already have male and female restrooms? We can't force them to do new construction. That would be cost prohibitive. So they would be grandfathered in. But maybe in new construction, they just build bathrooms instead of with 10 stalls. I'm not sure I have a great answer for that. I like unisex, but I think it's only the women who are feeling threatened by having a penis in the restroom. I don't think men are feeling threatened by having a vagina in the restroom.
No.
So I think if you've got a penis, you got to go to the men's room. If you want to dress like a woman, good for you. But you still got to go to the men's room. Now, if you have the penis cut off and you have the surgery, how about this? No penis, no woman's room.
Okay.
Or no, if you have you know what I'm saying. If you have a penis, you're not allowed in the woman's room.
Okay. This is a Facebook question from Katrina Hill in Seattle, Washington. Seattle raised the minimum wage to $15. Will you raise the national minimum wage?
Yes, I would raise the national minimum wage, and it's a little bit higher. I think the number I had was about $23 per hour.
Okay, now let me ask you this. If you raise that to $23 an hour, are doctors, the people who go to college to get their degrees, are their prices going to increase?
So doctors make I'm not sure how much more, 10 to 15 times more the minimum wage level.
Okay.
So I actually hadn't considered that.
Okay.
I'm not sure that they're the ones who are being forced into economic slavery. Like I just left San Francisco after 13 years, where the median home price is in the Bay Area is $580,000. That means a person has to make roughly $75,000 a year to just qualify. I'm sorry, they got to make $75 an hour just to qualify for the loan on that home. So it's impossible. So there's a point where we need to make sure that there is affordable housing. And affordable housing is entirely easy to do. It's the people who run the local municipalities don't want to put more housing in because it would reduce the value of their homes. So it's supply and demand, and it's the rich people who are controlling the supply of the market for their own benefit. I used to have a California real estate license, and I did mortgage banking for 4 years. And in California, you need 8 classes, 8 like three credit classes from college, and I have 7 classes for my brokers. So I know a lot about real estate.
Okay.
And I'm going to add, real estate is the key. Real estate, home ownership is the key to a strong America. When you see people pulling weeds, those aren't renters, those are homeowners. And when people own a home, they become friends with their neighbors and they work things out and they build stronger communities. That's all.
That's good. That's good. How will you protect, this is an RBC News question, by the way, how will you protect women from domestic abuse?
The question is, how would I protect women from domestic abuse? I'm not really sure if I could protect them. I mean, how would I protect people against murder? I can't. That's going to be a part of our life forever. What we could do is have more education about anger management, and I would maybe as a culture we could talk more about why does this happen and what are alternatives. I would guess that a lot of marital disputes are over money, and because we have a weak economy, and so people who are married and having children, that's a pressure cooker, and people fall into depression, drugs and alcohol, and not having any kind of balance in their life to deal with conflict resolution. And so that probably adds to domestic violence, both against the wife and against the husband. I had a girlfriend hit me a few times. I'm like, are you kidding me? I can't hit you back and you think you can hit me? You're retarded, that's insane. So I really think it's a cultural thing that we need to work on, and to say that hitting, is spanking your kid allowed? No, it's not allowed anymore. Studies have proven that beating your children doesn't make them smarter or better. It leads to long-term psychological issues.
Okay. I'm going to ask you a pop culture question. Is that okay?
Yeah, there's no questions off the table.
Okay. Who do you think killed John Benet Ramsey?
I think the family members did it. I think they're wealthy, and the whole having your kids in beauty pageants is pretty weird. I find it creepy, quite frankly, to sexify your young daughter. It seems like pedophilia on some level.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. A lot of the evidence seemed to point towards maybe the family did it, but I don't have access to all the evidence, and it just feels like a cover-up.
Okay. What is your stance on Brock Turner?
Who? Brock
Turner. He was the Stanford swimmer.
Brock Turner. I don't know anything about this person.
Okay. Where have you been?
Well, I haven't watched TV since 2007.
Oh, okay.
I mean, obviously I get my news from the internet, but I don't follow pop culture. I find it to be.
Well, this wasn't pop culture. This was front page news.
Was he the guy smoking pot?
No, Santa Clara, California. He
Hmm?
was a USC, right? Did he go to USC? I think he did.
I don't know.
Brock Turner was Stanford. Brock Allen Turner at Stanford is a swimmer. Anyway, he was 22, and when he got arrested for sexually, basically rape of a woman who was drunk. When she was drunk, he had sex with her. She said yes. She said, I was drunk. I don't know what I said. Blah, 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 blah. The judge gave him 6 months. Anyway, he did 2 months of that time and was released on good behavior.
Yeah.
You don't know anything about
Okay, so I have heard about. I didn't know the name, but I have heard about the case.
Okay.
Well, I'm not a judge, and I think the judge probably did the right thing. You got two drunk people. Did she go to? She a Stanford student also?
She did, yes, she is a Stanford student.
So Stanford is not, entry level college. That's top 10 college in America. So you got two of the brightest future, business leaders of America going to college. So they're both very capable of making good decisions. They both got drunk, and they had sex. Now the judge ruled on the side of the woman and put the guy in jail for 6 months, 6-month term. I don't know. I think maybe justice was served. I bet you the guy's going to make sure. Are you, next time he has sex with a woman, are you absolutely sure? And it's going to put the brakes on lots of sex. I don't know. I guess I'm going to default to the judge's decision. He heard all the evidence.
That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah. This question is from Veronica Jackson in Detroit, Dallas, Texas. My fault. Veronica from Dallas. Is America racist?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Why not?
Okay.
Why not? We're stereotyped. It's in our pop culture. It's in our movies, and since we haven't really been kind and loving to the blacks, it's mostly the blacks. Since we're not kind and loving to them, and that the judicial system and the police are inherently racist, and they've got a culture of racism and bigotry. I'm empathetic to the plight of the black man. It's not really fair what's going on. I actually have, part of my campaign is reparations for blacks at $400,000 on January 30th, 2017, if elected, which equals almost $17 trillion. And the way I'd pay for this is by abolishing the Federal Reserve. We wouldn't pay back this debt to the banks because the banks have illegally hijacked our nation since 1913. So therefore, we wouldn't have all this debt. And then we could create our own debt, which would be reparations for blacks. So the Treasury would be with zero. Then we'd put on $17 trillion in debt. And then we would have this currency that we would be able to pay the blacks with. And what are the blacks going to do with the money? They're going to put the money right into the economy. They're going to buy homes. They're going to spend it. They're going to invest. It'd be an absolute infusion of capital into Main Street.
Okay, so you support the Black Lives Matter movement?
No, I'm not sure I support their movement. I support that their lives do matter. I've seen the videos of police shooting unarmed black people 10 or 20 times. It's ongoing. In Germany, the German police kill 8 people per year. We kill 1,400 people per year. It's almost like 4 people per day. The Germans, I'm German, so I'm no special than anybody else. they're intelligent people, they've got training, and they know the difference between right and wrong. And if the police are so damn afraid, they should not be police. Their common excuse is, well, I thought he was going to kill me. You shouldn't be a cop. You're a baby. Most of these cops only need tasers. More love, compassion, and kindness. Whatever happened to pepper spray or talking the people out of it? They really shouldn't be that afraid. They just want to be bullies. That's all they want to. They're some of the police are the lowest of the intellectual pool. They actually go after guys who have more violence and more aggressive behavior to become police officers. So this is the end result, which is the suppression of a minority. I have an uncle who's a cop. He's totally racist.
Do you support the actions that happened in Ferguson, Missouri?
Well, when you say actions, what do you mean?
I mean the burning of the streets. I mean what we've seen on the,
Oh, the looting?
Yeah, the looting, the LA riots, the
Yeah.
1964.
Okay, so yeah.
Policemen getting shot all over the nation. Do you support that? That's Black Lives Matter right there for you.
No, I don't support that. Looting is against the law. However, like graffiti is a sign of the voice that's not heard. So when you see looting and you see people in the street, that is a voice of the people who are not being heard, and they're so frustrated and they've almost lost their mind that they've gotten in the streets and they're willing to start burning stuff down because they're that pissed off. And I'm a white guy, and only a few times have I been that pissed off that I wanted to go protest. I don't do it because there's better ways to protest. You can use the internet, you can do you can do legal recourse. But if you don't have a lot of education and you don't have a lot of resources and you have no political influence, I've got influence. I got friends in all different types of government levels. I know how to get things done. They don't. So they're doing the best they can with the resources they have, and I don't condone it, but I don't blame them for doing it. By them doing this, unfortunately, they did destroy some property, but they brought up the awareness that there is lots of injustice going in America. There's lots of extrajudicial killings, which are police murdering people on the street without a trial by jury. The cops are making the decision to just shoot the kids. It's pretty sad. I'm glad that we have body cameras. And I think on those body cams, the cops who are shooting unarmed people, they should be doing some jail time. They should lose their pension and they should do jail time. It'll stop. And then what the cops will be like, well, I didn't want to shoot him, didn't want to get in trouble. Good. Then it's solved. And, these kids with BB guns, well, damn it, they're just asking for it. You can't be pointing a gun at a cop.
No.
That's suicide by cop. Don't point a gun at a cop. My thinking, I used guns a lot as a kid, and I grew up around guns. I probably shot 30,000 rounds of just, 22, the little ones. But you never point a gun at any other person unless you're going to use it on them. Which is, you never point a gun at a person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, how do we fix the education system, and is Common Core corrupt?
I actually don't know enough about the Common Core, but I think that we need to pay teachers as much as firemen and policemen. We got policemen locally here in Sonoma County who are making $180,000 a year. Teachers should be making $180,000 a year. We'd have the best and the brightest. We should probably double the amount of teachers nationwide, and we probably should triple their pay. I think if teachers had more pay, if it was teachers who do it now, it's a labor of love. And the brighter, I mean, I'm not saying that the teachers aren't the brightest, but the more money motivated people go into banking and other businesses where they're paid more money. So I think we could attract those other gifted people into the teaching professions. my answer.
We talked about marijuana legalization earlier in the broadcast.
Yeah.
You talked about the war on drugs in that too. Would you legalize cocaine, meth, heroin, anything like that?
Yeah, this is a pretty controversial subject. I have never done any of those drugs. The only drug I've ever done is marijuana and alcohol. And I'm against those drugs because they're synthesized by man. However, I'm very libertarian in my views, which are responsible citizens living a responsible life.
Yeah.
And people are going to do the drugs no matter what. So by us making these drugs illegal, we create a black market. And if you look at who does cocaine, it's not poor people. They're rich people getting high on it. So I would legalize I would decriminalize the drugs and legalize them, and of course tax them, and probably put, let's say, 80% of the money that comes from the taxes of those substances into education. I never wanted to do heroin because I saw a video in the 7th grade of some junkie detoxing and shaking everywhere. I never wanted to do cocaine because out of the few rich people that I knew, they went poor from doing cocaine. Drugs have lots of consequences, and I think that through and meth, that stuff sounds really terrible. So I think through I didn't do it because mostly I wasn't around it, and I heard stories of how terrible it was. So I saw people do marijuana, and nothing bad happened. They relaxed. Where people who do alcohol, they don't relax. They get angry. If people smoking weed want to have a fight, they're like, dude, I'm going to kick your butt tomorrow. Nothing's immediate. Where on alcohol, if somebody says, I'm going to kick your butt, next thing you know, punches are flying. So alcohol makes people angry, where marijuana calms people down. Heroin and the other drugs, I don't know what they do. I know it's not good, and I think people resort to these drugs because they are living, their life is not complete, and they're hopeless, and they're living for the moment because they have nothing else to live for. So I think give people a reason to live and something to look forward to, and they're not going to risk hurting themselves with the drugs. Doing drugs like that is slow suicide.
Final question, and then we're going to take a quick break. Over 55 million babies have been aborted since 1973. Are you pro-life, and should taxpayers fund Planned Parenthood?
Am I pro-life? Well, this is definitely a controversial subject, and
so are you pro-life or pro-choice?
Yeah, I'm pro-choice.
Okay.
And I do know that you are murdering a baby.
Yeah.
No ifs, ands, or buts. That is a life, and you're killing it. But studies have proven, Malcolm Gladwell, the tipping point, in 1991, something happened in New York City. Crime dropped like a stone. And the reason is because those are the 1973 babies that were never born that grew up to be 18-year-old criminals in 1991. And since those unwanted children never entered society, they didn't grow up to be unloved and criminals.
You mean to tell me you are going to say in 1991 the crime dropped because we murdered a bunch of babies, and not because Rudy Giuliani had his successful campaign on?
What I'm saying is the research done by the tipping point that since 1973, if you go plus 18 years, or 92 would be the year, that crime has dropped nationwide because unloved children never existed.
Huh.
Look at.
I don't know that. I've never heard that.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna state that because I don't know nothing about it. So should taxpayers fund Planned Parenthood? I've seen the video. I'm sure most of the studio audience behind me have seen these videos of the human species that, and all the nastiness that's behind it.
Well, should taxpayers fund biological weapons and nuclear weapons? And should taxpayers fund the CIA doing over 50 different coups in other nations? There's lots of things that taxpayers should never fund. And this is part of my campaign platform, which is getting rid of corruption and having a realistic currency. So there's lots of things that taxpayers should not fund. To specifically answer the question, I don't think the taxpayers should have to pay the bill for somebody to have an abortion. I think there's plenty of pro-choice people who would operate free clinics for women who wanted to have abortions. I know this is really upsetting for a lot of so-called Christian people who are pro-life, but those same Christian people who are pro-life are for the death penalty, and they're for wars, and some of those Christians are the most unethical people I've ever met in my life. They're not doing the teachings of Jesus, they're not helping their neighbors, and they're hypocrites. And a hypocrite is imposing a will and standard upon others that you don't impose upon yourself. They want to save the babies so the babies can go into the military and kill somebody else's baby. It's hypocritical.
Okay. We're going to take a break. When we come back, is climate change a hoax? And how does America get respect from the rest of the world? This is a special RBC News special event, a Wayne Lambert Town Hall.
So how long's the break?
We're going to take a 2-minute break, and I'll get back to you, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We're doing fantastic, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I'm a Toastmaster.
Yeah,
You ever heard of Toastmasters?
I have.
Have you ever done it?
I have not.
Oh. Well, it's pretty awesome. It's a public speaking and leadership organization started 85 years ago.
Yeah, I have never done it. I know about it, what they do. I took Steve my senior year of high school, and she was actually a coach.
Yeah.
And did it.
Well, my main goal as a new politician is to not avoid the questions and to give absolutely concrete answers.
Yeah. Oh, you're doing great.
It pisses me off when politicians don't answer the question and then they turn it into blaming somebody else for something. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just hoping by being transparent and honest with people that I'll find enough people will resonate with my transparency and authenticity that they'd want to vote for me.
Right. And I just, I've never moderated a debate or anything.
I really like your questions. They're great questions.
Well, I wrote these myself.
Great.
And other than the RBC News questions I wrote, the other ones obviously were submitted in and chosen by a third-party panel. Anyway, yeah, so I think you're doing great. You'd probably be better than the two wackos we got on the ballot.
I know I could bring America, like, honestly, 200 years into the future. Mm-hmm. And that actually falls under the concept of don't tell people what is more believable than... Only tell people what they'll believe. But I've got us a way to take us off oil where we don't even need oil. We can use hydrogen. There's a way to safely store hydrogen, but the process of doing it is illegal because it's used in nuclear bombs, but the material itself is not explosive.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a type of lithium, and this lithium stores hydrogen, and they just don't want it, I guess, isolated where somebody could use it to... It basically makes a nuclear bomb maybe like 40% more powerful. Yeah.
Okay, well, we are going to go back here in just a minute, okay?
All right.
And thanks, Barbara. Welcome back. We are live at Democracy Headquarters for the first ever live town hall on the RBC News Network. That's something to be proud of. Also, if you have not registered to vote, the deadline to register to vote in Indiana is October the 11th. For more information on that, go to voterregistration.com and remember to vote on December. Ambassador Smith, Lambright, and the question is climate change a hoax?
The question is climate change a hoax? My answer is based on the science that I have heard. Now, I didn't conduct the science, so I don't know specifically, but greenhouse gases, CO2, carbon dioxide, have proven to be at much higher levels than over the last, I think, few hundred years, where they've actually taken ice samples that are 500 years old, and the ice sample's got an air bubble, and they isolate that air bubble in its own vacuum, and then they're able to analyze it. So based on the science, I do believe that there is more carbon dioxide in our atmosphere at greater levels. And I do think it is leading towards global warming. The ice sheets are smaller. They get smaller every year. And if you look at Greenland, its area of ice and its density of ice has decreased. Now, somebody could probably say that this is just probably a natural cycle of Earth. Maybe it is. I do think it's man-made. We would not have passed these other laws. Like, I was a mechanic at BMW for 4 years at the dealership, and I had the California smog license where I was the technician who actually smogged the car. And smog is two things: hydrocarbons and nitrosis of oxide and sunlight. It's called photochemical smog. Hydrocarbons are unburned fuel. So I do believe that global warming is a real thing. However, if we do have too much global warming, it might trigger a bunch of fires around the world, and those fires might put so much smoke into the air that it creates a nuclear winter, which is we could snapshot ourselves into an ice age. That is also possible. I believe. Go ahead.
So you think Al Gore has it right?
I think Al Gore does have it right. I do. I know that's unpopular to say, but with global warming, you have extreme weather cycles, colder winters and hotter summers, longer winters and winter in my mind is December and January, but those have shifted like 2 months into the future. So the really cold parts are now in February and March, and the hot summer doesn't really happen in June. It happens in September and October.
Hillary Clinton wants to get rid of coal.
Okay.
Do you want to get rid of coal?
Well, coal's in the earth, so I don't think we can get rid of it. It's there whether we like it or not.
Using it.
Yeah, that's a great controversial question. I think using coal is okay. If coal is producing too many pollutants, there would be a way to scrub those pollutants. If it's causing cancer because it's in the air, there'd be a way to put a scrubber on top of the exhaust part of whatever's using the coal. Look, we're all here right now. We don't have 12 fingers and 12 toes and 4 eyes on our head because of coal. Yeah, it's maybe it's not the best thing to use, but it's still a good resource, and there's a lot of it. I don't see why we can't be using it.
Okay. How does America get respect from the rest of the world?
How does America get more respect from the rest of the world?
Yeah.
Is the question. by being respectful to the rest of the world. Noam Chomsky, who is said to be one of the most quoted living persons ever, he says, well, you can't have a war on terror if you're the largest terrorist organization in the world. Nobody commits more acts of terror and murder than the United States. And I know people don't want to hear me say that we're the bad guy, but we're the bad guy. And so people would respect us if we weren't doing home invasion. What's home invasion? Home invasion is when you go grab your guns and you go to your neighbor's house and you hold them up and you steal their stuff. That's what America does to other countries. We take our guns, we go to their country, we invade their home, and we steal their resources and we kill their people. If we quit doing home invasion, nation invasion, people would respect us. We're not trading partners. We're like a murderous mafia. We're like, look, we'll trade with you, but first give us all your stuff for free, and then whatever crumbs you have left over, we'll work out a deal, and we'll do some trading. But it's going to be, the benefits are going to be on the side of America. We're definitely not nice people. So by being nice, we'll get more respect.
Donald Trump said if elected, he would befriend Vladimir Putin. If you were elected, would you and Vladimir Putin be friends?
Yeah, I like Vladimir Putin, and I've been following him for eight years at least. Putin is a intellectual. He grew up in a very repressive nation, the Soviet Union. He excelled. He knows how the world works. He knows about trade. He knows about banking. He knows about natural resources. He knows about the corruption going on in the world. He knows about military affairs and how diplomacy, when that doesn't work out, then people start killing each other, either overtly or covertly, to elicit their political gains. He's not beyond probably killing people to protect his nation, and neither is America. America's more than happy to kill people for American interests, so why would I think of less of Putin for protecting his nation when I would do the same to protect our nation? I think he's a great leader, and Putin is the only one who publicly admits that ISIS, the so-called boogeyman, it's an American proxy army, and a proxy is like a mercenary. They work for us. America invented ISIS in cooperation with Israel, Great Britain, and Saudi Arabia. They are mercenaries. They get their paycheck from America, Israel, Great Britain, and Saudi Arabia. If we didn't pay them, if we didn't arm them, they would not exist. And he said this October 7th, 2015, last year. There's a video on it. You can watch it.
Okay. Pardon me, but I'm gonna attempt to pronounce this name, and I'm probably gonna thrash. And after I thrash it, I'll tell you who he is. Xi Jinping. He's the president of China. And would you befriend him?
I would. I really like what China's doing. China is becoming a first world nation, and we need to be as friendly as possible to China because China has helped America when we needed help. China bought a lot of our worthless American dollars in September 2008. They bought our debt, which jump-started their economy. America said, look, if you buy a lot of our treasury bills, we'll buy a lot of your Chinese-made products. So America had a lot of available money to buy stuff made from China. So they're a great trade partner. Some of the things I don't like about China are their human rights abuses and their environmental protection abuses. And America, I feel, is breaking the law by enabling China to produce goods we should be producing because they're willing to break the environmental laws, and then we get to buy those products for less money. So in a way, the American capitalization of China's industry is to hurt Mother Earth. And I don't think that is something that we should do as a global community. As president, I wanted to, you can't force other nations to do things, but through trade agreements, I would want to only trade with other nations that follow our strict EPA guidelines that sometimes we don't even follow. But that's something I'd be working on also. If we don't protect Mother Earth, if we do things like fracking, which are destroying the groundwater on a permanent basis because we're injecting carcinogenic material into the water, if we don't stop these things, it would be like irradiating an area like Chernobyl, that area of Europe. It's dead for 500 years? So if we don't protect Mother Earth, it's not going to protect us. And the Earth is not going anywhere. It's we humans that will be going someplace if we don't protect it.
Okay. What about Reuven Rivlin, the president of Israel?
The president of Israel. Well,
is Israel an ally under your president?
Israel is not an ally of America. Israel is an enemy of America. I've got irrefutable proof that Israel attacked America on 9/11. I'll say it again. Israel attacked America on 9/11. So, as president, I would reopen the 9/11 investigation and I would prosecute the people responsible for that, which are people in Israel and some people in America. I would put up sanctions against Israel through the United Nations, and I would demand through legal processes that those war criminals in Israel are tried in the international courts for war crimes. I would quit funding Israel with economic aid. I would not be arming them. If they want to be respected by their neighbors, they need to be respectful. And I would also create the state of Palestine, which needs to happen. I like Jewish people. I've got 2 Jewish investors. My grandpa's Jewish. I've had Jewish girlfriends. I have no problem with Jewish people at all. I like them. I like their culture. I disagree with the state of Israel, and I disagree with their global policies. And unfortunately, America has been enabling them to commit their crimes. And Israel, in my opinion, has been manipulating the political scene in America to their advantage, and they are repressing and suppressing our Constitution for their benefit. I think that Israel's hijacked America, and that's something that really needs to be readdressed. I would say that I would remove dual citizenship Israelis from positions of governmental power in America. As far as I'm concerned, they're double agents and they're spies. Would we allow North Korea citizens to be part of our government? Most likely not. So once Americans learn the truth about 9/11, which is the World Trade Centers fell, and across the street another building, a third building fell on the morning of 9/11. Only 10% of the population know this. Buildings can't fall. This building was built in 1984. It's 46 stories, and it was one of the most state-of-the-art buildings of its kind. So buildings can't fall without controlled demolition, and Israel did that.
Not President Bush.
President Bush and Israel did it. It's the neocons, the neoconservative people.
I know. Let me speak here. You were going to go out on a limb and say President Bush attacked America on the morning of September 11th.
Yes, he's part of it. He knew what was going on. He is culpable, and culpability means you know what's going to happen. Now, he might not have had a meeting and said, in 2 years, we need to make this happen. I think other elements, powerful Israelis in America, bankers, working with different neoconservatives, which Bush is part of, said, yes, let's do it. He probably thought it would, I don't know how can anybody think that killing some of our own citizens would be good for our country? But my dad is not CIA, and the CIA does not play by the rules. So.
Okay. Um,
Look at, let's talk about the CIA, the Cocaine Import Agency. There's a CIA jet that crashed in the Yucatan Peninsula with 6 tons of cocaine on it. So this is why I would legalize drugs, to defund the CIA. The CIA is running the world. America runs the world. We've got the technology. We've got the economic power. Our military is 9 times, our budget is 9 times larger. So if everybody spent a dime, 10 cents on their military, we spend $1. So we outspend everybody. And we've got more technology that is so far advanced than them, it's going to be a while before they catch up.
okay. So Bill Clinton, not Bill Clinton, George W. Bush knew about 9/11. That's so you're okay. So just so I can throw one in here, you believe 9/11 was a government hoax? I mean, obviously it happened, but you think there was some government involved here. You think Sandy Hook was a hoax?
Yeah.
And we talked about that earlier. So was Oklahoma City a hoax?
The Oklahoma City bombing with Timothy McVeigh?
Yeah.
I haven't spent as much time researching that, but I do think they might have set him up. I think that might have been an inside job within America that...
So Bill Clinton did it.
Well, I don't think Bill Clinton said... I don't think he got, his team in a room and said, you know what, CIA guys, we really got to pull off a bombing in Oklahoma because that will shift things in the direction we need to go. I actually think that it's probably rogue people within our own CIA. Part of the, if there is some type of group, call them the Illuminati, call them what you want.
So you believe in the Illuminati?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I worked...
What did they do? What did they do?
Well, the elites of the world, we have to admit that there are rich people in the world, right? The Rothschilds do exist. They've got $500 trillion. There is the Bilderberg Group, and there are lots of private clubs where billionaires meet and they discuss how they're going to run their businesses. I actually did work at the Bohemian Grove for a little bit last year, just as an odd job. But I have my ex-father-in-law is a member of Bohemian Grove, and some other women I've dated, their family members are members. They're wealthy people. Some of them are billionaire families, and the billionaires do think that they're more special than us poor people. And they think that they're above the law and they get to do what they want. So I do believe that they are out there operating above the law.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a question from Brittany Brookback in Little Rock, Arkansas, and I'm going to say this to the studio audience. I don't condone any of these questions. Journalist, I will not give my opinion. I'm going to read it how it is on the card, okay? Is Barack Obama a screw-up? That's exactly how it's written.
So the question is Barack Obama a screw-up?
President Barack Obama a screw-up. My apologies.
Yeah.
President Obama a screw-up.
Well, yeah, your audio quality is extremely low. So I can barely hear you, and this is why I'm repeating the questions for my audience right now.
That's fine.
And that's better there. So the question is President Barack Obama a screw-up? Yes, Barack Obama has. I voted for a Barack Obama, and I would say...
2008?
Yes.
Now, who did you vote for in 2012? I
did not vote.
You did not vote?
Yeah. I don't know if that makes me a bad guy or not.
I wouldn't have given you that option. I would have said, I believe everyone should vote.
Yeah.
But whether or not that makes you a bad guy or not, I guess that's
Well,
up to them.
the truth of the matter is my vote doesn't count because of another thing. Part of my political campaign is abolishing the electoral college system. Only in 21 states, they've passed laws that force the electors to side with the popular vote. And if,
Yeah, we've seen it in Texas.
yeah, so if for people who don't know, who are listening, the way the electoral college system works is pretend Donald Trump got 99% of the vote, or 98. Hillary got 1%, and I got 1%. If the electors liked me, they could override what the people said and vote for Wayne.
Uh-huh.
Now, that wouldn't be fair to all those people who voted for Trump because Trump's numbers are more. They'd be 98%. But since the electoral college system is an emotional process, it's not based on math or counting votes, they're an elite class of citizen above the rest of us, and they get to choose who goes into office.
Okay, but if you win that state, you get to choose who the electors are.
I don't think, well, no,
Yeah,
no, the electors have already been chosen. They're part of the,
But if you win the state, you get to choose out of the electors who vote.
okay, so in this coming election, I don't know who these electors are. They were chosen before I came on the scene.
Yeah.
And so they probably made their decision of who they're going to vote for a year ago.
Right. Right. But you get to nullify or choose who votes. And obviously you know who's going to vote for you.
When you say you, are you saying Wayne?
I'm saying whoever wins the state of Indiana. When I say you, it could be Donald Trump, it could be Jill Stein, it could be Hillary Clinton, it could be you, it could be me. Whoever wins the state of Indiana gets to pick the electors that vote in the state of Indiana.
Oh, I think you're talking about the primaries.
No, I'm talking about the electoral college.
Well, so if Wayne Lambright wins the election in 2016, you're telling me I'm going to be able to choose who the electors are for the next election?
No, I'm saying the electors. Okay, Indiana has 12 electors. Okay.
Okay, Indiana has 12 electors.
Okay, you win 98% of the popular vote in Indiana. From that, you get to choose which 12 electors of the Electoral College choose you so you can win the state.
Okay, so you're saying that the electors have not been chosen yet for the 2016 election.
No, I'm saying you get to pick which of the electors votes count.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay, well...
So there's 12... Okay, so Indiana has 12 electors.
Yeah.
I somehow get to choose who these people are after I win?
Yes.
And then based on me choose... So November 8th, what, I get a few months? How much time do I get to go pick the people who are going to vote for me?
I don't know that much, but your campaign knows where in alignment they are. Your campaign basically does it for you. And I don't know much after that.
Well, I think we just uncovered that it's a very complicated, protracted scam.
Well, I don't know about that. I kind of find it. I think it works, but.
Well, we can disagree on that. I believe that the people's votes should count, and they're never overridden by somebody else. And so the people who are in favor of the Electoral College call my proposal tyranny by majority.
Right.
And
what about I would be on board to go with the district plan.
Well, so anyways, I'm just going to disagree with you the whole time. I'm saying abolish the Electoral College system. The person with the majority of votes wins.
Okay.
And because I think the Electoral College system empowers the elites to keep controlling the nation.
Okay. Do you know what the district plan is?
I don't.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You get a. I'm not saying this is an insult, I promise, but get a civic book, and it explains it all right in there on how the Electoral College is supposed to work and the district plans and
I don't give a shit.
How we choose.
Okay, well, you didn't call me to give me advice.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm not interested in learning any more about a system that I think is broken. So,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah.
I believe in. Okay, so the way the Greeks who invented democracy, the way they used to vote, they all gathered in the town, and there was a vase in the middle, and they said, we're going to vote at a certain time. Anybody who wants to vote, show up. They would pick up a rock of either, they pick up two rocks, one white, one black, and they'd say, now vote for whatever you want, and put in the black rock for yes and the white rock for no. Then,
So you're saying Americans should vote by a rock?
you're interrupting. So after voting had concluded, then they would empty the vase, and they would count the rocks, and they would determine which had the majority of the votes. So I'm proposing that we go back to everybody's vote counting. I've proposed on medium.com a rig-proof voting system based on the blockchain technology. It would be rig-proof. So if everybody's voice counted, then more citizens would vote and they would participate in our... Well, right now we're a republic. We're a constitutional republic. We are not a democracy. So
Yeah.
we would need to change that. So if we want to live in a democracy, that requires us changing the law. So there's a bunch of work before we get there. And
Okay. You talk about voter turnout. Voter turnout was at an all-time high this primary season.
I really don't know. At this election, I'd be surprised if voter turnout was more than 15%.
More people voted in the primaries than they have in the past 40 years.
So what percentage of the 350 million Americans voted
in the primaries?
No, in the November 8th election, the final election.
How many people voted 4 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay, you want 2012 voter turnout.
I mean, if you know it off the top of your head.
Well, I'm getting to it. It was at 62.3%.
62%?
Yeah.
Of the adult population above the age of 18
Voted.
Wow, that's much higher than I expected. I thought it was just in the 20s.
And 68% low.
That's great. I didn't think 68% of the American population were registered voters.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. What is your stance on Hillary Clinton, her emails, Benghazi, simple stuff like that?
Well, that doesn't... Okay, so I'll answer that, but I'd also like to talk about my platform.
Okay, yeah. So answer the question and...
Yeah. So I think Hillary Clinton is a criminal. And she is willing to lie, cheat, and steal, and to say anything to further her personal agenda, whatever it is. I don't trust her at all. Most women and Americans have no idea that she defended a pedophile, a guy who raped a 13-year-old or a 12-year-old girl. She volunteered to defend him and got his charges dropped. So a young girl got raped and this guy got off the hook. She's immoral. I don't trust her. That's it. I basically don't like her.
Okay. Fox News, MSNBC, RBC.
Yeah, well, the media is owned by Zionism. So Israel owns 95% of American media. What if North Korea owned 95% of the media in America? Then we'd call it corrupt. Americans don't own our own news stations. Our news is owned and controlled by people who live in a foreign country. This is why I am not given any airtime. Would Adolf Hitler give Jews who were trying to oust him from office time on the radio during Hitler's Germany? Most likely not. So I'm against Zionism, which I think Israel attacked America on 9/11. Why would Zionist-owned media give me any time? They won't. Their agenda is to control us lock, stock, and barrel. So I don't call it mainstream media. I call it Zionist media because that's what it is. I think, like for the FCC, the Federal Communication Commission, should revoke the license of CNN. CNN has violated the laws multiple times using fake video evidence from other situations to incite from they've different riots. They've used different media to misshape what's going on. They're just lying. I'd love to see a Christian-owned television station, owned by Christians, run by Christians. No Zionist, no Jews running the Christian station. And Muslims should have their own station, and whatever other religions want their own station.
So Christian television being the 700 Club?
No, the 700 Club is a show. I'm talking about ABC. Okay, so there's major news, there's major television networks in America, ABC, NBC, and CBS.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And so maybe Fox is the fourth.
Yeah, the fourth TV network.
Yeah, I don't know how old you are. I'm 47. How old are you?
19.
All right, so when I was a kid, there was just three major networks, ABC, NBC, and CBS. And they represented probably 95% of all the audiences in America. And now with cable television, that's been fractured.
Yeah.
But there's still, I would say Fox, ABC, NBC, and CBS are still probably at least 80% of the media. And they're owned by the Zionist people, okay? They're owned and they're managed by Zionism, which promotes Zionist agenda, not America's agenda. The very fact that Building 7 collapsed on 9/11, it's not even in the 9/11 report. This should be front page news every day until it's solved.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to throw this out there and maybe I'll hit a bullseye. Did Building 7 collapse and it had something to do with Enron?
Enron?
Yeah.
Building 7 collapsed because of explosives placed at every column. It's controlled demolition. Enron, the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, their offices are in that building.
Yeah.
But actually, I believe that the vault for the evidence of Enron is in building number 6 in the basement. And that was burned. But I believe Building 7, which had the FBI had offices in there, the CIA had offices, and the Securities and Exchange Commission had offices in there. Maybe some of the evidence for Enron and Global Crossing were in Building 7. I can't say specifically. From what I understand, I think it's the basement of Building 6 is where the archives for the SEC are. But I do believe on 9/11 that the evidence for Enron and Global Crossing, the two largest crimes ever perpetrated on the American public financially, that evidence was wiped away.
Okay.
Do you know about the buildings? The owners of buildings 1, 2, and 7 are the same guy?
No, I don't follow that nonsense. I believe that
Nonsense?
two hijacked planes crashed into the World Trade Center, and they were radical Islamic terrorists.
All right, so there's no evidence of planes. Well, anyways, why would you call it nonsense? The building owner is the building owner. His name is Larry Silverstein, and he bought the buildings 4 months prior. Don't you find that suspicious?
Real estate comes and goes. Well, I mean,
Actually, it doesn't. It doesn't. The buildings were owned by the city of New York. They were city of New York buildings, and then they were sold to a private person 4 months prior for $200 million. Then 10 days before 9/11, he doubled his insurance policy to pay out double in the event of a terrorist attack. He netted $4.6 trillion. That is a motive. Okay, so this is a financial insurance crime. And if you're unwilling to look at the evidence, then you are not willing to look at the evidence. That's all.
Well, I don't think there's I don't think there's any evidence that I think there's more, I don't think there's any more evidence than what we've seen on what we've seen and what the
So you think the government's telling the truth?
I do.
So do you think a 757 hit the Pentagon?
If that's what is reported, then yes, I do believe.
Well, what do you think? What do you think was reported hit the Pentagon?
It was a plane. It was a.
I don't think you've taken the time to investigate this. So I would encourage you to watch a movie called Loose Change, and then watch a video from a guy named Christopher Bollyn, BOLLYN.com. He's an investigative reporter. He's 65 years old. He spent the last 15 years on this case, and he has all the evidence.
American Airlines Flight 77, which was a Boeing 757-223, crashed into the Pentagon on their way to Los Angeles. Yeah,
well, again, I'm going to say I encourage you to look at the alternative evidence.
What about Flight 93?
No plane crashed in Pennsylvania.
What? No plane crashed in Pennsylvania.
The NIST reporters said their statements were, there's no evidence of a plane crash. It looks like somebody dug a hole and dropped in scrap metal. They never found black boxes at all 4 locations. I think we're getting off topic here. Well, part of my campaign bidding is the 9/11 cover-up. Our whole justification for this war on terror is based on Muslims or Arabs attacking America, and I'm saying that's false. And so the investigation of 9/11 is the solution to getting America back on track for following the laws and prosecuting the people who hijacked our nation. We're living in soft martial law, and every time the government wants to break the Constitution, they use the excuse of terrorism. And since I believe that terrorism is manufactured, it's called synthetic terrorism, to justify this huge military expenditures on these wars for the military-industrial complex, because the biggest industry in America are weapons. And nobody needs our weapons if there's no wars. But since we're manufacturing wars, then they need our weapons. So I'm saying that a lot of this stuff is fake. I'm not alone in this.
So is Ahmad Rahami not a Muslim?
It sounds like a Muslim name. Look, I'm a scientist. I like scientific proof. I like scientific evidence. And in the 9/11 investigation, there's substantial Cover up
But
and omission of evidence.
Ahmaud Rahami has nothing to do with 9/11. He was the New York and New Jersey bombers yesterday.
I don't care. You're changing topics.
I
don't trust the news, okay? I just don't.
I'm just asking questions.
Okay.
You said
Well,
that Muslims don't attack America. He was Muslim. He attacked America yesterday. Now, if it's okay, we'll stick to the questions I have written on my index card.
you got some more questions?
I do. I have 4.
Let's go for them.
Okay. America has been involved in war more than 1/2 of its existence. Is America the biggest threat to world peace?
The question is America the biggest threat to world peace that for half of America's existence we've been at war? And the answer is yes. We are the largest terrorist organization in the world. People don't give us their natural resources. We go there and steal them. Probably the justification is if America doesn't steal the resources, the Russians will, or the Chinese will. Maybe that's true. I don't know. But we're hypocritical. If we're Christians, we're not doing the work of Jesus. Jesus would not invade other nations. Jesus would not manipulate the truth. They even passed a law recently that allows our government to create propaganda against, basically, the right to lie to its own citizens.
Right.
Are you there?
Yes.
Yeah.
So they created a lie. They created propaganda that made it okay to lie for their own citizens.
Yeah, which used to be against the law, but they just passed a law making it legal to create propaganda against American citizens. It's insanity. It's like the final days of the USSR, which had total propaganda against their citizens. And this comes down to us not having freedom of the press. And since the media is owned by a foreign nation, they will not put on the news. Investigative journalism has not existed for probably 20 years, if not longer. There's substantial cover-ups. There's the way campaigns are run, campaign contributions. You now have unlimited campaign contributions from corporations which get people in office to make laws that empower the corporations, which have really and which do control the framework and the gears of how America works. They've taken the power from the people and given it to corporations. It's just another way of the elites and the wealthy controlling our nation from the inside out.
Okay, so you want to get rid of Super PAC? You're talking about campaign contributions.
Yeah. So unlimited campaign contributions from corporations. Yes, I'd want to get rid of if that's called Super PAC. Yes, I'd want to get rid of it.
Okay.
I think corporations should be limited on how much money they can give candidates, just like individuals can only donate like $5,000, $5,600, or $2,700. There should be a limit to how much money corporations give to campaign contributions. Campaign contributions is a euphemism for a bribe.
Okay, so you mean to tell me, you mean to tell me if the president of the RBC network, which he's not allowed to do this, he will get fired if he does, if the president of the RBC network came to you and says, I want to give your campaign $10 million, you won't take it?
That's a hypothetical question, and I'm not answering it. So right now, there's a battle. Well, actually, I will answer it.
Okay.
I want to change the laws. So right now, I'm fighting against 2 other people who are getting massive amounts of money from other political organizations. So I want to gain elected office under the conditions that my opponents are granted the opportunity to bid under. As president, I would change the laws so that at the next election cycle, it was a level playing field. So right now, I would accept the 10 million because that would be under the umbrella of a level playing field. But I would want to change the laws to make it, to change them for the next election cycle. So I don't want to fall under the, I don't want to be a hypocrite and you know, so because I'm against hypocrisy.
Yeah.
But I also want to have a level playing field and an equal opportunity. So my goal is to change the laws to get rid of, as you said, is a super PAC. So it's winning, but within the law. I'm not interested in breaking the law and, so, you know, doing all this behind the scenes stuff that it appears to be what's going on right now. Election rigging. We're just not a fair and honest nation. What happens in the political process, it's like sausage. It tastes great, but you don't want to know how it's made. And even our you know, the results of our political elections, nobody feels satisfied. It's really, we don't have representation in Washington D.C. We have a tremendous amount of poverty, homelessness. Our veterans aren't being taken care of. Our elderly are not being taken care of. While oligarchs and the elites are just making more and more money. So there's a disparity between the rich and the poor. And if you study if you study nations, it's only going to get worse. It doesn't. The rich don't eventually wake up one day and say, you know, let's give half our money to the poor. I got enough. They never do that. It's greed.
Okay. Okay. You keep mentioning Christians and Jesus and this election, will you keep the 501c3 tax law?
Yeah, I like the nonprofit organization. I think more people should know how they operate, that the people running the 503c, right?
Yeah, 501c3, yeah.
501c.
Yeah.
I think more people should know exactly how they operate, that the people who own the corporation can pay themselves any amount they want. So, you know, like the Goodwill thrift stores are the 501c corporations, and the CEOs are paid millions of dollars per year, and they actually don't pay their employees even minimum wage. In some of the places, they're paid half of minimum wage, and they're making huge profits. So lots of these nonprofit organizations are scams. For example, like when Haiti had the earthquake and people donated millions and millions to the Red Cross, still now, I think 3 years later, Haiti has not got $1 of that Red Cross money. So I'd want to investigate. I might want to change some of the rules on the 501c corporations, but maybe put caps that the management can only pay themselves a percentage of the revenue brought in, and maybe there's caps on the maximum amount they can earn. I was a finance major, and the 501(c)(3)s are basically an elaborate way to launder money. That's all it is.
What about tax on the church?
Tax on the church?
Yeah.
I don't think there should be tax on the church. Churches, well, since I'm a Catholic and a Christian, the churches do a lot of beautiful work. They feed homeless people. They provide shelters. I volunteered time last year at the Salvation Army, which is a Christian-based organization. I worked at their corporate headquarters. I saw about 200 volunteers put together Christmas packages for families who didn't have money for toys. So poor people would go to the Red Cross and they say, I got 2 kids and they ask them questions like how old the kid is, what are their clothing sizes, and what does the kid want for Christmas. Then the Salvation Army finds these gifts for the kids and gives the family Christmas gifts. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And so that is a Christian-run organization, and I support all that stuff. It made me feel so good to be a part of this organization, helping these people who have nothing. My family, I come from a big Catholic family, and unfortunately, drugs and alcohol have separated my mom and from my family. I'm not allowed at Christmas. This will be the 4th year in a row. And I am not welcome at Thanksgiving. My mom says she doesn't want to listen to me for 5 hours. I'm not welcome in my own family. I haven't seen my 50 cousins, uncles and cousins, for 4 years now over this. I posted a hamburger photo. My brother's wife said hamburgers aren't good for me. She weighs 400 pounds. She drinks a half a gallon of rum a day. I said, you should go to an AA or an OA meeting, Overeaters Anonymous. And because of that, my mom defended her and kicked me out of the family. And she's Catholic. So, just because you say you're Christian doesn't mean you are a Christian. You gotta do the work. You gotta be kind and loving to people.
Right. They say you have family members that are overweight. Is Michelle Obama's obesity plan working?
I didn't know she had an obesity plan. It's not her job to manage people's food intake. The word responsibility is, if you break the word apart, it's your ability to respond. Okay? So there's a lot of food. I think the biggest culprit of obesity in America is high fructose corn syrup. And it's a sweet product made from corn, because it's probably 90% less cost than sugar. And they put it, I think, okay, so this is just a guess, but I think it's an inexpensive way to fuel people with a fake calorie to make people productive, and then to kill them off by the age of 50. You get the best years out of their life. They become fat and die of heart attack or diabetes by the time they're 50. Therefore, they don't impose any health cost onto the system in their later years. So you basically steal the best years of their life for this cheap sugar substitute.
Okay. Final question. I'm going to read this question, then we're going to take a break, and I'm going to give you 2 minutes on why they should go to you and vote for you on November the 8th. So here's the question.
Yeah.
How should immigrants be let into America, and how should they be kept out?
The question is, how should immigrants be let into America, and how should they be kept out?
Yeah.
And you want me to answer that now?
Yes.
I would use the current system we have, which is our immigration system. We have borders, and yes, there is illegal immigration, but they come here for jobs, and they're jobs that Americans don't want. So I'm not going to change the laws. I think Trump's wall is ludicrousy. It's stupid. People will find a way under the wall, over the wall, around the wall. It's just the Chinese built a wall. It didn't prevent China from being invaded. It's stupidity.
Yeah.
The most important thing for America is to have a robust economy. And so people are claiming that immigrants are stealing jobs and then putting a drain on our social services. That might be true. And these people want to work, so give them jobs.
If it is true, though, how do you prevent that from happening?
Well, I think the border the Border Patrol probably could do a better job if they're coming across the border. I think the Border Patrol is corrupt, but I don't see the Mexican people as a problem. I like Mexican people. They're hardworking. If we got rid of maybe it's the drug industry, maybe it's the illegalization of these drugs, which creates a bad environment in Mexico because of the drug cartels, that there isn't enough. Why are they leaving? They're leaving their nation to come here because there's more opportunity in America for safety and security because of the unsafe conditions in Mexico created by the war on drugs. If the war on drugs did not exist and drugs were legalized, people might just go back to Mexico and just grow weed and sell it to Americans. So I think America probably created this northern migration of Mexican people because they're leaving dangerous conditions because they've empowered criminals through the drug cartels.
Well, we are going to take a break. When we come back, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to persuade the panel behind me on why they should vote for you on November the 8th.
Okay.
First, this is the first ever town hall meeting on RBC. We'll take about a 2-minute break here.
Okay.
It'll be probably about a minute 30. But I want to remain friends after this interview.
Well, that's up to you.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I don't. I'm a journalist. You're a person who is running for president who doesn't trust me.
No, those are your words, not mine.
Well, no, that's me. But you said you don't trust the news. And my job as a journalist is to report the news of the day.
I don't trust Israel. Are you an Israeli citizen?
I'm not an Israeli citizen.
Do you work for one of the news organizations that we mentioned?
I work for the RBC News Network.
RBC?
Yes, through Speaker Web Radio.
And they pay you a paycheck or something?
They do.
Oh, that's cool.
Yes, they do. I host a weekly talk show called Opposing Viewpoints.
That's great.
It's been, it's been the #1 show on the network for 2 years now.
That's awesome. Well, I trust you because you're giving me airtime. You're giving me.
Okay.
You're giving a voice to the voiceless, and I'm the voiceless.
Okay.
So I trust you.
Okay.
I'll trust. I mean, what I'm looking for in America is freedom of speech. And I feel that the major news networks are not giving guys like me airtime. For example, the debates are, well, do you want to take your break? Because I'm talking.
No, it's fine. They can't hear us.
The very fact that the debates are not open to other members, the Green Party, Jill Stein and the other guy, Gary, and then the new CIA guy, whatever his name is, and myself.
Okay.
And the reason they do that is they don't want the truth out. They want to divide people into two camps, and it's like Hillary's going to get votes because people hate Donald Trump so much. They're going to say, fuck it, we'll give it to Hillary. Because they hate Trump so much. And people will hate Hillary so much that Trump's going to get votes because of her lying. And we're both, nobody gets anything. We get two puppets. And I think Donald Trump is controlled opposition. He's a Zionist. He stands with Israel.
Yeah.
So the system is rigged. It's not meant to be fair. And I would just like to see fairness. It comes down to motivation. One of the great things about America are the patent laws, which give you, if you invent something, it gives you a 25-year monopoly. And so that motivation of having this monopoly, which is lots of wealth, motivates people to tinker away and to become innovative. And it's through our patent laws that created American innovation which helped us create this prosperous world we live in today. And it's because of our laws that protected our intellectual property through patents and other reasons that we were able to create the goods and services that other nations wanted to buy, that helped start the Industrial Revolution and all these other benefits. And so we need to follow these laws, and we need to follow the Constitution. And because if we don't, then it's just piracy. And then it's anarchy.
Right. Right. Okay, we're going to come back here and to and thanks, Barb. Welcome back to an RBC News special, Decision 2016, the Wayne Lambert Town Hall, presented by Oxford. White blank World Index card. A big Lambright, 100 3x5, 7x6, 12x7 centimeters. So anywhere index cards are sold. And we want to remind you that you can vote in Wayne Lambert.
Lambright, by the way.
Lambright.
Lambright.
Wayne Lambright. On where it says on the write-in name there. So if you don't like Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump and want to vote for our friend Wayne here, you do that. And that is your right as an American citizen. And Wayne, I'm sorry I've been mispronouncing your name all night. That was my fault, and I should have cleared that up with you beforehand. But I'm going to give you 2 minutes, not to talk to me, but talk to the citizens watching, whether it be on YouTube or whether it be on Speaker Web Radio, whether it be on the RBC network, on why they should write your name on that fill-in box.
Thank you. Well, my name is Wayne Lambright, Lambright. You can learn more about me at lambright.com. If you've listened to this radio broadcast, I hope what you take away from it is that I'm empathetic and I am transparent in my truth and my honesty to make America what it isn't today. I think that we're living in a time of cover-up, crime, and corruption. I believe that Israel attacked America on 9/11 to justify this war on terror that is entirely not necessary. It's to justify more military expenditures across the globe to steal other people's natural resources. I've got advanced technology that would actually take us off take us off oil. It would just be hydrogen. I have safe hydrogen storage technology that these devices, which are basically tanks full of hydrogen, we could install in internal combustion engine cars today. Instead of burning gasoline, they would burn hydrogen. You get the hydrogen by separating it from water with electrolysis with solar panels. So we would use tap water to make hydrogen to power your cars. It's honestly that simple, and this is why it's not legal, because the oil industry does control the world. A gallon of oil is worth 30 human hours. I could take us off oil and put us on hydrogen, but this technology is illegal. It's one thing I would change. There's advanced technology that's sitting on the shelf we're stuck to the earth from a gravitational field. There's a magnetosphere. There's a way to generate electricity from the earth that Nikola Tesla patent called radiant energy. It's not even solar. It works at nighttime. There are lots of technologies that would get us off our dependency on oil. These technologies would spur a new revolution of industrialization in America by building these devices for the rest of the world. We would transfer the world from burning fossil fuels to burning hydrogen, and there's more advanced technologies. I'd want you to vote for me because I might not know the answer to everything, but I know how to be honest and tell you I'll find out. This wouldn't be, not everything is easy. but with the right attitude, it's possible. I've got the ability to work with both sides of the Congress, and I know that most people in America just want to bring back prosperity and opportunity to their local states, regions, and districts. They want people to live the American dream, to be able to get married, to have children, to live in safety and security, and to have prosperity. I believe I can bring prosperity back to America through innovation and new manufacturing processes and technologies. The other candidates aren't even offering this stuff. I'm offering stuff that does not even exist. And I'm talking about getting rid of the Federal Reserve, which is basically a private bank managing our money. They're the mafia. America for 100 years printed its own money, and we can go back to printing our own money. And I believe that by having true democracy where everybody's vote counts, by abolishing the electoral college system, is another thing I would bring to America. At least I'm honest, and if you want to have an honest president, vote Lambright. The future's bright. Lambright, you're looking at him. That's it.
Okay, thank you guys, and thank you, Wayne, for being on this special occasion. We are going to send it to Barbara Wingo, who has a special report called Decision 2016, the Wayne Lambright Town Hall Reaction. That's coming up right now.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was fun, I thought.
Yeah.
That was fun, and I don't know if you want to sign off on your YouTube channel or whatnot, but I don't know what my viewership ran, but they told us to go 2 hours, and that's what we did. So,
well, yeah.
Good, right on time, and
well, I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Yeah.
And this is how you gave a voice to the voiceless. And this is what freedom of speech is about. And my goal in bidding is to be authentic with my personal views. And if people like them, then people will get behind me. And if people don't like them, then people won't get behind me. But the very fact I'm not given a voice and I'm suppressed is not fair. So you did the right thing by giving me a chance to have, to answer questions, and you gave me a voice. And this is freedom of speech. So we live in a time of mass communication with internet and all these free ways to communicate, but there's still a tremendous amount of suppression and propaganda going on. And I really am grateful for this opportunity with the RBC network. And Mr. Bullock, thank you for giving me a chance.
You're welcome. I have the viewership here. If you want to know how many people.
Yeah.
Let's see. He cut out a 2-hour time slot of primetime television or primetime radio. We have radio sitcoms and stuff, but remember how they used to do it back in the 50s and 60s before TV was there? They had those radio, things.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we do that. From
Okay.
8 to 10 o'clock. Anyway, they said they didn't want to do that tonight. They wanted to have a nuance, and so we did a primetime special, and let's see here, we had 5,127 people.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. On my show averages about 6,000 on Friday night.
That's wonderful.
Yeah,
Well,
so a little down from a normal rating, but politics kind of scares some people away, especially when it's an unknown name. And it's not that that's a bad thing or a good thing. I think some people did watch because they were like, "Well, who's this guy? We've never heard of him." And we've been promoting this. We've been promoting it on the network. on the sporting events that we hold on Saturday night during the college football games. We said on Tuesday night, do not miss it. It is a town hall event. You will love it.
That's great.
We've been promoting this on the sporting events on Saturday night, on Sunday night, on commercials that we've been promoting this for you. So,
well, thank you so much. And, this is what democracy is if I put out there my viewpoints, and if other people like it, they'll carry me forward. And this is how we affect change, is by making an effort. And you put out the effort, and I'm grateful to be presented to 5,000 people. And if those 5,000 people want to learn more, they'll be able to contact me on my Wayne Lambright at Twitter, and I mentioned my Lambright.com. So we put in all the effort possible to see if it will go to the next level.
Okay, that sounds great, and I'm not going, because I'm a journalist. I'm not allowed to say who I'm voting for, but I will say this: I will give it thought.
Well, thank you, and yeah, let's stay in touch, and I'll let you know, between now and the next week, what I've noticed on my end.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. And I probably won't see you on Monday when them two Looney Tunes get on there with Lester Holt.
Well, I might eventually get the questions and then answer the questions myself.
Okay, yeah. Well, yeah, and you can compare them from my questions to the debate questions. I think they were pretty similar in contrast to what I've seen.
Well, and what was great about your questions were I didn't know what they were, so you get my unrehearsed answer.
Yeah, and that's what the American public needs.
Yeah, it's what we should have, but we don't. So we're living in Hollywood make-believe. This whole thing is theatrics, and it's synthetic democracy.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, Mr.
Well, it is 10 o'clock. I've been in a shirt and tie since 7:30 this morning. I'm going to hopefully go home and take a shower and go to bed. It is 10 o'clock here. My job is officially done.
All right, Mr. Bullock. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Anytime. Let me...
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, that's the end of the broadcast with Mr. Bullock from the RBC Radio Network. 5,000 people did hear the broadcast tonight, and they normally have some radio shows, and those were not broadcast tonight, and our 2-hour conversation was broadcast. I really like this because it's freedom of speech, and they're giving a voice to the voiceless. Me, I'm the voiceless. And I like it because the political process is, from my point of view, I talk about what I'm interested in. If other people like it, they'll take me to the next level. If people aren't interested in my political ideas, then I go nowhere and I go on with my life. No big deal. I think I've got a way to change our nation, and so this is what leadership is. You raise your hand, you say, hey, I want to make a change. Here's my ideas. Hopefully other people will resonate with my ideas and want to support me. So this is part of this is my step in the process, and your step, the viewers, are to vote for me and to support my campaign. You can support my campaign a few ways. First, by following me on Twitter at Wayne Lambright. So it's twitter.com, Wayne Lambright. Or, that's one way, by following. You can donate to my campaign at lambright.com, Lambright. There's a donate button there. And if you want to, take another step further, you can promote me to your sphere of influence, and you can ask your local media people to give me some airtime on their news shows. I'll show up to the opening of an envelope. Little joke. I'm willing to talk to anybody. I really think that my ideas can help bring America into the future and save us from the corruption and the crime and the collusion going on. Something's going on, something's rigged, and we're not being told the entire truth. I want to thank everybody who is watching this video for taking the time. I'm sorry the audio quality on his side was less than ideal, and I will post a link to his radio recording from his end so you can hear his voice in clarity. Thanks for watching. Again, follow me, Wayne Lambright, at Twitter, and visit lambright.com. Good night.